Hands up. 1, 2, 3.
The Jets are back on the practice field for the first time since their Monday night loss to the Cleveland Browns. This is practice today presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen here in Florham Park. And the Jets are looking to rebound in Week 3 against the Patriots. Bit of a quarterback shuffle this week, and earlier today, Adam Gase had an update on the Jets starter, Sam Darnold.
Of basically what the doctors tell us. You know, they're going to do what's right by him to make sure that nothing. I mean, this is something that is serious. Where if his spleen bursts, then we got a problem. So we got to make sure that he's right and safe to be able to play.
All right, so the big news there, Sam Darnold and the Jets eyeing a Week 5 return against the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, like Adam Gase said, it's kind of up to how Sam's body responds, considering when you recover from mono, it just depends on when your spleen returns to a normal size.
The Greens, they're at the mercy of the doctors. I know a lot of people are like, don't rush Sam Darnold back. You don't have to worry about that at all. You're going to take this up and give all the information. The information is going to come from the trainers, the doctors, and they'll let you know when his spleen is good to go and he can go out there and resume physical contact. Right now, Sam Darnold is going to watch as much film as he can, and hopefully soon he can start throwing a football, but no physical activity right now.
And he said he's only lost 2 pounds, and he said that on ESPN's The Michael Kay Show, and we'll see what happens as quickly as Sam can return. Again, it's just kind of a waiting process. And when you see Adam Gase there, he spoke to the media before practice, and Sam Darnold scheduled to speak to the media after the locker room ends later today. So we'll monitor that as it goes on. And as it turns for the Jets this weekend, Luke Falk will get the start. We'll talk about him. But the Jets signed Luke Falk's backup earlier this morning. That's quarterback David Fales.
Yeah, and right now we're watching Adam Gase, Jets CEO Christopher Johnson, and also GM Joe Douglas there in the background. Douglas has been a busy man. You're talking about the quarterback shuffle going on here. I believe the Jets on Sunday will become the 6th team, Greens, in the Super Bowl era to start 3 different quarterbacks in as many weeks. Sam Darnold obviously out with the mono. Unfortunately, Trevor Siemian goes down. And Luke Falk's going to start this week. So the Jets had to add a quarterback. And Adam Gase wanted somebody familiar with the system. Enter David Fales, a guy who was a draft pick of the Chicago Bears, played under Gase in Chicago, and also spent some time with Adam in Miami as well.
And David Fales has some game experience. He's played in 3 games over the course of his 5-year career. And in that span, he's only thrown for like 200 yards, had a touchdown and an interception as well, completed 64.6% of his passes. And the Jets are anticipating him not playing, hopefully.
Yeah, right.
Very similar to Monday night when the Jets weren't expecting Luke Falk to play against the Browns Monday night. And right there you see Falk, number 8, and Fales will be wearing number 5 for the green and white. And Luke Falk is the guy moving forward. And the Jets have a very tough test this week as they're 0-2 entering enemy territory in Foxborough in Week 3. And this is no easy test for Luke Falk. This is no easy test for the Jets. And Adam Gase talked about it, said this is really where you have to show some fight.
Well, I like what I saw out of Falk. I'm not saying he set the world afire, but 20 of 25, playing under the bright lights. He got the Jets moving in the second half. I know they only finished with 3 points, but consider circumstances, Greens. This is a guy who was promoted from the practice squad on Monday. That means he wasn't getting any practice reps. So this week out here behind us as we watch Luke Falk get warmed up with the rest of the Jets, he's going to have a game plan tailored to him. Remember, when he entered the game after Siemian went down, I believe the Jets ran Le'Veon Bell 7 consecutive plays so he could get his feet underneath him. And then there was that drive that I thought was very impressive in the second half where he started finding Robbie Anderson, and the Jets got inside the red zone there, unfortunately unable to convert on 4th and 2. But all in all, I mean, what could you expect from Falk in that situation? I thought he did well. The test is going to be awfully difficult this week against the number 1 defense in the National Football League. That's the Patriots.
Okay, so the question is, for fans that don't know, who is Luke Falk? Because Luke Falk is a guy that's new to this team in May, walk-on at Washington State, had a very successful career for the Cougs there. Then he becomes a 6th-round pick of the Tennessee Titans in 2018. He was waived, joined Adam Gase in Miami last season. Then he's waived in May, joins the Jets, spends the preseason here, had a very successful preseason, completed 80% of his passes, threw 2 touchdowns, about 200 yards as well. And then, like you said, he was promoted to the active roster from the practice squad on game day.
Well, Greens, just a couple of weeks ago, we're out here wondering if the Jets are going to keep 3 quarterbacks on their roster. Remember, Falk was competing with Davis Webb for that 3rd position. They chose to go with 2, but they keep Falk on the practice squad because you want an additional arm. Now, since he's been here for a little bit, he becomes the backup to Simeon, and he'll get the ball this week. I'm glad you mentioned Falk's preseason stats because we didn't see him go down the field too much in the summer. But what I was encouraged about was that long pass to Robbie on the go where they picked up like 35 or 36 yards, right? So
the one where Robbie was able to keep 2 feet in bounds on the sideline.
Yeah, it was a great catch by Anderson. And the Jets are going to need Robbie Anderson this week and moving forward because across the way from him, Luke Falk doesn't have Quincy Enunwa. And he might not have Demaryius Thomas either this week. We saw what Jamison Crowder could do, especially in week 1. But the more the Jets get Robbie Anderson going, that's going to open things up, I think, ultimately for Le'Veon Bell.
And the other thing about Falk, similar to Fales, is that he's familiar with Adam Gase's system, more so than just this season because Falk was with the Dolphins last year for a little bit. So really, that's what Sam said also on the Michael Kay show yesterday. He said that he has all the confidence in Luke because he's somebody that understands the system very well, the ins and outs of it, because he's had an extended amount of time. And in fact, when you think about it, granted, he hasn't been getting the same amount of reps as Sam Darnold, but he has more experience in the offense and has learned this offense for longer than Sam Darnold has. And we could talk about the quarterbacks all show long.
Sure, you could.
But right now, let's send it down to the field to our own Olivia Landis, who earlier this week caught up with running backs coach Jim Bob Cooter.
Thanks, guys. Well, like you mentioned, I had the opportunity this week to sit down with running backs coach Jim Bob Cooter. And to nobody's surprise, we talked a lot about star running back Le'Veon Bell, who was actually practicing right behind me. First and foremost, I asked him, what were your initial thoughts when you heard that one of the league's best players was going to be in your running back room? And he simply acknowledged that Le'Veon Bell is a top-notch player, and he has absolutely lived up to the expectations so far. But Cooter also harped on the versatility that Bell brings in both the running and receiving game. He said, the more the players can do, the more options it provides for the offense. We saw Bell's flexibility throughout the first 2 games of the season after he recorded a total of 128 rushing yards, 93 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown, and to top it all off, a 2-point conversion. But Bell isn't the only player that Cooter is excited about. He also talked about his confidence in the depth at that position with veterans Bilal Powell and Ty Montgomery and second-year player Trenton Cannon. This offense is truly dictated by the players and the strengths they bring. So this running back group provides a lot of possibilities to the coaches. That's all we've got in the field. EA, Ethan, back to you on set.
Thanks, Liv. The Jets do have a talented running backs group, more than just Le'Veon Bell. We saw some action from Ty Montgomery in week 2, more so than week 1. And maybe, depending upon the injury status of Demaryius Thomas in week 3, and if the Jets make an according move, depending on his injury, he has a knee hamstring. Maybe week 3 against the Patriots, we'll see some more Ty Montgomery perhaps out wide. But in terms of Le'Veon Bell, EA, I mean, we knew what we were getting when he signed with the Jets, but then in week 2 against the Browns, he really showed what he brings to the table.
What do you have, 129 total yards?
Correct.
One of the most impressive things about Bell is he was talking about after the game the 2 plays he didn't make, which unfortunately were the fumble loss down by the Browns' 7-yard line late in the game. I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the game, but that was after a pass reception from the aforementioned Luke Falk. And then also Le'Veon talked about the 4th and 2 when he was only able to pick up 1 yard. That gives you some kind of insight on who he is and how he is built, because Le'Veon Bell was fantastic against the Browns. I know the numbers weren't gaudy in terms of yards per carry, but he made so much of it on his own greens, where the Jets have to get better this week, and Adam Gase has talked about it. They got to get better up front blocking. Adam Gase said, sometimes I got to get these guys in better position in terms of the play calls. Sometimes we just have to win our one-on-one battles, and these guys can't make mental errors either.
And in terms of Le'Veon Bell, on the 4th and 2, when he only picked up 1 yard, just to talk about a swing, the following play, the Browns take over. Odell Beckham goes 89 yards the other way and scores. So I thought what was most impressive to me about Le'Veon Bell's performance, outside of the numbers and outside of him talking about the 2 plays he didn't make, it does show you what kind of competitor he is. But you could tell how hard he was playing despite the score, despite the time in the game. He was really going 120%.
Guys are always bouncing off of him. Adam Gase has talked about this throughout his time here. He's such a big man, and he can excel in every facet of the game. Nobody talks about Bell's blocking, but he's a fantastic blocker, and we saw him doing damage as a receiver. Really helped Falk settle in. He had 10 receptions the other night, and again, not a lot of green in front of him, and he carries people. He spins off defenders. He makes people pay. The Jets just got to open some more holes for him. Think about what he can do, Greens, if he gets a little bit more blocking and a little bit more space, because he's off to a great start.
All right, so Pepsi is giving you the opportunity to hit the field at MetLife Stadium this fall for a chance to play flag football for Jamal Adams, and experience you will never forget. Enter PepsiPromos.com/choose-your-side now. All right, PepsiPromos.com/choose-your-side. Pepsi is the official soft drink of the New York Jets. All right, there he is, number 33, Jamal Adams. Made headlines recently. You could tell that he's a little bit upset. He's a competitor, and Adam Gase said that he was the person, he meaning Adam Gase was the person that took Jamal Adams out of the game after back-to-back penalties.
I just think it's much to do about nothing. He wanted to take his player out of the game. He thought emotions had got the best of him. At that point, the outcome was not in question. The Browns were up by 20 with, 2 minutes on the clock, 3 minutes on the clock? He had back-to-back plays, back-to-back penalties on consecutive snaps, and encroachment and an offsides penalty, and he brought him out of the game. He wanted to make sure that they didn't lose him to something else. And Jamal Adams wants to win. It means so much to him. It hurts when the Jets aren't winning. He wanted to win that ball game. I don't think there's much to be said here. I anticipate he'll be out there starting, flying around, and playing with his unbridled passion on Sunday.
All right, let's keep things in the secondary here, but let's move to the cornerback position. Nate Hairston got the start opposite Darrell Roberts in place of Trumaine Johnson. Now, Trumaine Johnson did play 4 snaps later on in the game, but that was because Hairston looked like he cramped up. No real injury news to report, but all things considered, I thought Nate Hairston played pretty well.
I did too, and I know we're not supposed to question the officials too much. The 4th down penalty actually helped the Browns sustain a possession that ultimately ended with Nick Chubb getting in the end zone on a run on the next play. But Hairston had a PD. He also made a stop of Chubb behind the line of scrimmage. I thought he played physical. I thought he played fast. Yeah, I thought he acquitted himself quite well in his first start with the Jets, and that was definitely a surprise for onlookers. because Trumaine Johnson, had been a staple as far as being in the starting lineup. So we'll have to see what happens on Sunday, because Adam Gase didn't commit one way or the other what's going to happen in Sunday
Okay, so against the Browns, Hairston 3 tackles, pass defense.
Yep.
He was on the other end of the Odell Beckham one-handed catch, but he was in good coverage there. Can't really blame him for that. Remember, the Jets acquired Hairston in August for a 6th-round pick in 2020. The Jets have 2. They're giving one of those to the Indianapolis Colts for Nate Hairston. And before we wrap up here, we have to talk about injuries, because this is practice today, and the Jets have a number of injuries right now. Day to day, you have C.J. Mosley with the groin, Quinnen Williams with the ankle. Week to week, you have Jordan Jenkins with the calf, and Demaryius Thomas, who hurt his knee and re-aggravated a hamstring.
Well, and we're watching the linebackers right now. What that meant for the Jets on Monday night was Terrell Basham. We saw an uptick of his reps, and he responded with a sack. He also set up Neville Hewitt for his sack as well, as the Jets actually had 3 sacks in all. But you're right, Greens. Quinnen Williams is a guy who is trending upward right now, so that means he could be on the practice field as soon as tomorrow. C.J. Mosley not out there, which Adam Gase told the media today that the Jets are going to be awfully cautious with him. They will not put C.J. Mosley back in a playing situation until he is fully cleared and ready to go, because you cannot mess with the groin. Obviously, Mosley didn't play last week against the Cleveland Browns. And then the long-term injuries, you got Jordan Jenkins week to week. So when I hear week to week, I don't know if that means it's extremely unlikely that he would play against the Patriots. And then, of course, Demaryius Thomas, who not only has the hamstring, but also is somewhat of a knee issue.
Okay, let's just focus on the 2 inside linebackers really quick, Neville Hewitt and Blake Cashman. I thought both of them played well. They were 1st and 2nd on the team in tackles. They both had a pass defense. They both got a sack. Cashman actually only credited with a half sack.
Yeah.
But I thought those 2 guys played well, especially considering how much C.J. Mosley means to the heart of this defense.
Well, I'm going to take it back to the quarterbacks here, as you mentioned the linebackers, because what I'm going to say here is that you're right. Cashman was very good, and we were wondering how he was going to respond after he got into that game against the Buffalo Bills late, and the Bills were able to expose the Jets' run defense without Mosley. But they did a fine job against the run. I believe the Browns limited to about 3.3 yards a carry.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, Cashman was all over the place. You mentioned the PD. He also looked to be in the right spot in coverage as well. Neville Hewitt, he's the run thumper. He's the Mike linebacker when C.J. Mosley not out there. But the reason why I said I'm going to take it back to the quarterbacks is that shows you what a week of practice can do, because Blake Cashman knew he was going to be a starter, and he got the reps with the ones. Luke Falk getting the reps with the ones this week.
All right, there you have it. That's how we end practice today, presented by SiriusXM. Thank you so much for watching. Again, we're going live this Sunday for Pregame Central, presented by Pepsi. And before we wrap up here, I'm going to leave you with a little treat. I caught up with Dane Brugler earlier this week of The Athletic, and we focus on football here at One Jets Drive, but we're also focusing on college football throughout the season. Dane and I touch on a number of prospects, only 3 games this week. So here's my talk on Brugler's draft board, and thanks for watching. Welcome inside the Play MGM studios for another edition of Brugler's draft board. Now, Dane, let's dive right into it. Last week, not a whole lot of ranked college football matchups, but this week we got a top 10 showdown in Athens. Let's go into Andrew Thomas, the Georgia left tackle. Started 15 games in 2017 on the right side. Last season switched to the left side. Where does he rank? What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses?
Really, this is a matchup that Jets fans should be watching closely, because Thomas, he's a dominant pass protector. 6'5", 318 pounds. He's a flexible body type. His lower half athleticism is really impressive. He can mirror in space. Love his long arms. They act as shock absorbers to control the point of attack. I think there's a good chance we're talking about a top 10 pick right now, possibly even a top 5.
All right, let's switch to Notre Dame here. The Fighting Irish have a lot of pass rushers, but one guy in particular, that is senior Julian Okwara.
Yeah, the Notre Dame has a first-round pass rusher with Okwara, 6'5", 245 pounds, burst off the edge, long arms, heavy hands. He can drop, cover in space, and so that versatility is key and really why he's an ideal fit with what NFL teams are looking for on the edge right now. He's looking to prove that he belongs in that top 20 conversation, and he could be one of the first seniors drafted.
All right, there you have it, the top prospect matchup. Number 7, Notre Dame. Number 3, Georgia. Now let's go to an underrated prospect where Oklahoma State takes on Texas, and Oklahoma State has a receiver by the name of Tylan Wallace. What is the story on him?
Through 3 games, no receiver in college football has more receiving yards or touchdown catches than Tylan Wallace. He's averaging over 26 yards per catch. That leads the country. So I think people are going to look at those numbers and think, okay, well, it's a product of a pass-happy offense. But when you look at his talent level, he deserves a lot of credit for what he's doing out there. He's explosive in and out of his cuts as a route runner. He's forcing cornerbacks to trip over themselves. And when the ball's in the air, he has that my ball mentality to outcompete defenders at the catch point.
All right, it's upset time here in Brugler's Draft Board. Dane, I'm not going to put pressure on you, but you're 2-0 so far in the upset special here. And this week we have another ranked matchup. Right now Michigan's the underdog, and they have a quarterback by the name of Shea Patterson, and you're looking for what, consistency from him?
On paper, he's got everything you want with the athleticism, the arm talent, but consistency is a big issue. You want to see better instincts, you want to see better downfield decision making, and it's a shame because Michigan has one of the most talented wide receiver depth charts in the country, led by Donovan People-Jones, another one of those talented receivers we'll be talking about possibly being in the upcoming draft class. Can Patterson move the ball through the air versus a bend but don't break Wisconsin defense?
All right, we'll see what happens with Patterson and the Wolverines this Saturday. That was another edition of Brugler's Draft Board here in the Play MGM studios. Dane, thanks a lot for your time, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Ethan.